You wake up before sunrise. There's no fridge, no supermarket, no cereal box. Everything you'll eat today, someone grew, ground, baked, or caught by hand. And by the time you go to sleep tonight, you'll have eaten the same food that fed the workers who built the pyramids, started what may have been one of history's earliest labor disputes, and slowly ground your own teeth away, one bite at a time. This isn't a royal feast. This is just a normal Tuesday, 3,000 years ago. The first thing you smell isn't coffee, it's fresh bread, not soft white bread, dense, dark loaves made from emmer wheat or barley. Before sunrise, someone has already spent hours kneeling over a flat stone quern, crushing grain by hand. Back and forth, back and forth. Every loaf begins with thousands of strokes. Then comes your drink, beer. Not the cold fizzy kind. Egyptian beer was thick, cloudy, low in alcohol, almost like drinking liquid porridge. It was nutritious enough that many people considered it part of the meal, rather than simply something to drink. Bread and beer weren't breakfast. They were life, rich or poor. Almost everyone ate them. But there was something else in your bread, something nobody wanted: tiny grains of stone. Every time grain was ground, small fragments of the grinding stone mixed into the flour. Not enough to notice, just enough to chew, day after day, year after year. Archaeologists examining Egyptian mummies have found the same pattern again and again. Teeth worn almost flat, some ground all the way to the roots. Imagine eating a sandwich every day, knowing it was slowly sanding away your teeth. Except, they didn't know. The food keeping them alive was quietly destroying their smile. Breakfast is over, the sun is climbing. If you're a farmer, you're heading into fields fed by the Nile. If you're a laborer, you're carrying stone beneath the blazing Egyptian sun. If you're making bricks, your hands will be covered in mud before midday. Whatever your job, you don't work on an empty stomach. Along with bread comes something you'll eat almost every day: onions, garlic, not as seasoning, as food, strong enough to fill your stomach, cheap enough for ordinary people, and valuable enough to become part of your wages. The Egyptians believed onions protected against illness and evil spirits. Garlic was thought to build strength and endurance. Whether or not those beliefs were true, workers believed in them, and that belief mattered. Here's where history gets surprisingly human. Ancient records describe workers becoming furious after their garlic rations were reduced. Think about that. Not gold, not money, garlic. One of history's oldest labor disputes may have started because people refused to work without the food they depended on every day. The pyramids weren't only built with stone, they were built with bread, garlic, onions, and the determination of thousands of workers who needed enough food to keep going. Lunch by midday. You aren't sitting around a table. You eat whenever work allows. Usually, more bread, maybe lentils, leeks, fresh onions, or leafy greens like malakia when they're in season. Nothing fancy, just enough to keep working. Meat? That's different. If you're an ordinary Egyptian, you might only eat it occasionally, perhaps during a festival, a religious celebration, or after preserving it with salt. For most families, meat is a luxury, not a daily expectation. Now imagine walking into the home of a wealthy official. The table looks completely different. Roasted goose, duck, beef, fresh fish from the Nile, sweet figs, dates, grapes, melons, wine instead of beer. The walls are covered with paintings of overflowing tables. Not because the artist was hungry, because Egyptians believed you'd enjoy those same meals forever in the afterlife. If you were rich, your feast was meant to last for eternity. If you were poor, dinner looked almost exactly like breakfast. The same bread, the same beer, just later in the day. As the heat finally fades, families gather together. Bread is broken, beer is poured. Children listen while adults tell stories. Tomorrow's work is discussed. Tools are repaired. The fire glows. The menu hasn't changed much since sunrise. But the meal isn't only about food. It's about ending another day together. In a world where every harvest depended on the Nile and every meal depended on hard work. So, what did an ancient Egyptian eat in a single day? Bread, beer, onions, garlic, whatever vegetables the season provided. And if fortune smiled on you, a little meat, simple food, repeated every day for an entire lifetime. There were no takeaway meals, no supermarkets, no endless choice, just a handful of ingredients. Prepared by hand, shared with family, and powerful enough to feed one of the greatest civilizations in history. The next time you open your fridge and wonder what to eat, imagine waking tomorrow, knowing you'll eat the same loaf of gritty bread for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because 3,000 years ago, history wasn't built by kings alone. It was built, one loaf of bread at a time.